Welcome, everybody, to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. And as you know, I talk about 4 different types of freedom: time, financial, location, health, freedom. And in that light, I'm always scouring the globe looking for entrepreneurs, people doing things on the cutting edge, making an impact. So today we have a financial planner, Kit Lancaster from Sterling Edge Financial, and he's the founder of it. And he started it in 2018 after seeing a need in the marketplace for financial planning, coaching, consulting on financial decisions. And today's talk is going to be a great talk all about financial independence, financial freedom, and empowerment. And I'm happy to welcome Kit to the show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I know we had connected through Podmatch, and it's a great resource to connect hosts and guests. And so tell us more about yourself, and how you started your company.
Yeah, so I feel very fortunate. I always knew I wanted to be like a financial advisor, even though I had no idea what that meant. I grew up in the late 90s, like watched the dot-com boom, thought I wanted to be a pilot, figured out I didn't want to be a pilot, and just got this fascination with like finance. To be honest, it's kind of crazy the opportunity we have in the United States to be a part of and actively participate in the markets. I was like 18, 19 when Scott Trade and Daytech.com started. I remember working like summer jobs before I was 18, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, can you sign off on this so I can open a brokerage account at Daytech.com?" And started like investing in stocks. I had no idea what I was doing. But it was a great learning experience. It really just kind of fed my interest and appetite within it. Got a degree in finance and accounting, always wanted to serve my country. So did 5 years in the military as a field artillery officer. Got out, moved to Chicago. And it took me a minute because most people are like, you're not from Chicago. Why would we ever hire you to be a financial advisor? And I didn't realize at the time, being a financial advisor for most firms is you need to be in sales. And I found a firm that's like, "Hey, we'll teach you, we'll mentor you, we'll pair you with another advisor." So I worked at that firm for about 7 years. Worked with that senior advisor who was gracious to pull me along for 2 years and helped him out before I really kind of focused on building my own practice. But like most advisors in this industry, you come in and you're either selling insurance, you're selling investments, but you're not really doing financial planning. The firm I was with, that was great. They paid for my CFP. There were other people at the firm getting their CFP. Fast forward to 2017, and that firm sold out. And almost everyone that had a CFP kind of did the math and just left and started their own firms. And that was me. I was just like, I had started there selling life insurance, and then I grew my book into built financial planning and investment management. So when I left, I was like, I'd love to just meet people and charge them for a plan, coach them. There's so many people that just want to talk to someone about their finances.
Yeah.
I mean, finances are a taboo in this country, culturally across the board, And I found that like there's just a lot of people that really enjoyed that experience going through the financial planning process. And at the end of it, it's like, hey, if you want me to implement for you, great. But at the end of the day, like all the values in the planning, the coaching, the mindset, setting realistic expectations, and I love investments, and I know more about insurance products than I ever care, even though it's a tiny fraction of my business. And it helps me, my clients, answer, navigate, and avoid lots of mistakes. But that's really why I launched my firm. Is there's people they need someone about their finances. So I really wanted to start a firm where people just pay me for advice, and if they want me to implement it, great. But if not, like I've empowered them, I've educated them, I've given them a methodology and a mindset of thinking to make more informed financial decisions. And I really think that we gotta remind ourselves where the financial services industry has come from, where it's going, and that's the side I want to be on. I want to be on the advice side. I do help people get products and solutions, but everyone I work with signs a financial planning agreement, because at the end of the day, like you may not need to put $1 in the stock market. You may not need one insurance product. What you may need to know is like, what happens if you lose your job? Or how much house can I afford to buy? Should I invest in like my company's stock program? You get your 200-page PDF of your employee benefits. Like no one understands that stuff. I just went through a client's 200-page PDF last fall, because I always tell people like send them to me. I get a big dopamine high going through them. the worst that's going to happen is I'm going to say, great, you don't need to make any changes. But there's one client that's like, hey, you need to go to page 68. Here's $20,000 for your problem
Yeah.
that you didn't know is available. Call this number. And they're like, we would have never found that. It's like, no one knows. The HR people aren't paid to train to know what you need in that. They just put it together.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where how I got into it, what I've developed over the last 5 years. And I'd love any way I can help someone on their journey. I'd love to be that part of that. And sometimes that's me just referring them to other people.
Yeah, that's awesome. And a lot of there's a lot of parallels to starting a financial planning practice when it's like a business owner, entrepreneur standpoint. But today we'll talk about some of the financial challenges you see clients in their 30s and 40s facing today, heading into the next 12 months. Talking about like Gen Z and Gen Alpha. The world is going to be completely different. So what are your thoughts on that?
No, I think that's a really good observation. And we're in a very unique period of time. I joke with clients, the industry wants to sell you what worked yesterday. And our brains, just cognitively by design, are always looking for patterns. And then we're just going to assume that pattern goes on indefinitely until it doesn't. And then we make a change. And that's done well for us. When we were trying to survive on the savannah 300,000 years ago. But today, things are a little bit more complex, a little different. So I think we need to be empathetic that number one, like no one has a crystal ball. Number two, there's a lot of uncertainty out there. And I could talk about macroeconomics and all kinds of things like that and demographics. But number three is like, I challenge myself and my clients, like, let's look as hyper personal as possible, because I've got clients that maybe they are attorneys or they work in certain fields and they're like, I just want to build a financial plan in case I break physically or they push me out of the office. Like, I love what I'm doing. And their financial plan is just like an emergency bucket. It's just like an emergency plan. The other aspect of that too is I've got other clients. It's like they're doing really well. A lot of clients that come to us are first generation wealth. They're maybe making 2 or 3 times what their parents ever made, whether that's $100,000 or $300,000 a year, and that's just way more than their family came from. And they're not really sure how to think about it.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, what do I do? And some of those, I think one of the big challenges now is there are people that they're going to have to take care of family members. And going back to that taboo I touched on earlier, they may not even know that. Like their parents' financial plan is you taking care of them in some capacity, either financially, monetarily, living with you physically. And I think there's a little bit of stress, tension, and there's a lot of emotions around that to be empathetic and aware of. That people in their 30s and 40s, some of them are aware of it, some of them are not. For me personally, I had a family member who was in a memory care unit for like a decade. Financial means that did not in any way affect their family members. They were able to fully fund that on their own. And I think about that as like the second, third order events of that on everyone involved is astronomical. So, heading into the 2020s and 2030s, I think we're going to see more of this. There's a silver tsunami. You may see this in Wall Street Journal or even in the medical field. It's just like the number of people over the age 65 is just exploding as a proportion of our society in the United States. And we can learn from other countries. I'd be interested to see some studies from like Japan and other countries that have older populations. It's going to have a second, third order effect on how the financial markets work, economic opportunities, and then how we, on a hyper personal level, build, structure, and think about our finances.
Yeah, these are all very important trends that the listeners should be talking about. And and what are you doing, in your firm with your clients to help them make more informed financial decisions?
Yeah. So number one, this time of year, I always like to ask questions and get review meetings on the calendar. It's like, hey, what is your biggest financial decision this year? Like, what has your attention in 2023? Last night I was talking to some clients I've had for several years, and they're like, we've been talking about buying a house. They've saved a ton of money through the pandemic. So I just coached them through the expectations of how to buy a home, what to expect, who are the professionals, how are they paid, what are they motivated by, what are the pros and cons of home ownership, what are some of the, most people that buy a house wake up the next day and they spend $10,000 in just paint and some basic furnishings, So what I did is I set the expectation on like, let's update your cash flows and just do a fat cash flow plan. And then we can model out any home you're looking at before you buy it. Let's schedule a call with a lender I know who's very educational. It's January. I know they're bored out of their minds right now. It's a great time to pick their brain and get an understanding of what you can apply for, what you can afford. But that's what I like to focus in on new clients and ask people when we're talking finance. Okay, what's going on? What has your attention? Because sometimes it has nothing to do with investing or insurance or even estate planning. It's buying a house, retiring, changing jobs, pursuing an advanced degree. We helped a client. She's like, I think I'm going to apply to Stanford and Harvard for an MBA. It's like, great. So we built a cash flow plan for that. And then we're cash flowing her through that experience, because there's all these little inflection points from how to finance a home purchase to financing an MBA, to financing a career change, whether it's voluntary or involuntary. That's where we start in. And I always try to hone in on like, what's the biggest decision? Because usually it's something people don't want to do. We have some clients that may be going through divorces, whether they're amicable or not. And their biggest decision this year might be finding an attorney or team of attorneys to do it collaboratively. I think it's easy to forget that like the world is super special. And I feel really like fortunate. I moved to Chicago where like everything is just, you don't go to a restaurant with like 50 things on the menu. You go to a restaurant and there's like 10 things on it or 5. Yeah, I think I cut out when I said 5. There we go. So instead of 30, 10, maybe there's only 5 things at the menu. I'd also say one thing I've learned is observing attorneys in Chicago is they all specialize. Like, in smaller towns, it may be there's more generalists. That's not a bad thing. But I think one thing we can learn from that is, what is the one thing that we can do? What is the biggest financial decision I have? And what baby steps can I take to inform myself, understand my options, and then make an informed decision to navigate through that decision point?
Yeah, I know we have some like connectivity issues, but as we come to this, what are you doing to continue to grow your business and seeking to add more value and advisors to your firm?
Yes, so 99% of our clients come to us by way of referral, and I'm very grateful for that. We get lots of referrals. I'm at the point where I don't have to bring on new clients if I don't want to. And I feel grateful for that, because this industry is very brutal. It's really hard to build a successful business as an advisor, let alone be independent. But I've decided that I'm going to hire staff, and I'm going to try to find a junior advisor I could bring in that just loves doing financial planning.
Yeah.
So right now it's primarily through referrals. 99% of our clients come through referrals. We're very grateful for that. We have people all over the country. We have military members that live at APOs internationally that are clients. And with the pandemic was generous to us in the sense that if people weren't using Zoom before, they became infinitely more comfortable with it. And that allows me to deploy my methodology in a very cost-effective way that's of benefit to the client, and is more scalable to me than doing just in-person meetings. Not that I don't love meeting in person, I do, but people are busy.
Yeah, Zoom technology's been really it's been, you can connect, you can talk, and you don't have to travel. It's like kind of just right there. And so this great conversation and really interesting where this idea of financial planning, advising, how cohorts and generations are changing, how to plan and prepare for one's financial future, financial literacies. How can people get a hold of you, follow you, and contact you?
Yeah, if you Google Kit Lancaster, there's not too many of us out there. I am a certified financial planner. You can look me up on LinkedIn. Go to sterlingedgefinancial.com. And if I can be a resource to help you on your journey, I'd love to connect. And if not, maybe I can introduce you to someone that might be helpful through my network. I'm always there to be a resource and try to create value. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to do what I do. It doesn't really feel like work to me. I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. And I really appreciate the opportunity to connect with you here today.
And for all the listeners out there, Kit's resources will be in links and show notes. Again, we apologize for the connectivity issues. And, be sure to follow him on Facebook and LinkedIn, as well as check out his website, Sterling Edge Financial, where you get all the latest news updates about his company and what he's doing, and cutting edge ideas about financial planning. So with that, thanks so much for coming onto the show, and thanks for all of those nuggets of wisdom.
Awesome. Thank you.